Elden Ring is home to a variety of secrets, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the 7 biggest. Now, as you may have noticed if you've watched any sort of Elden Ring content over the last year and a half of its release, you'll know that a lot of the secrets in these kind of secret videos are just recycled secrets, or secrets that the creators haven't found and haven't really discovered, just using other people's discoveries, which is no fun. I'm not saying anything against that, but I wanted to try and spice that up a bit in today's video. I wanted to instead talk about my 7 biggest secrets, and there's some really interesting ones that I haven't really heard talked about. And I'll let you in on a little secret. Number 1 is definitely the spiciest secret on this list, so stick around and find out about that at the end of the video. Sorry for that little intrusion, I'll let you get back on track with what I was saying. But I did discover myself. Obviously there has been some videos on some of these, but I wanted to talk about them because there has been a lot of videos, and most likely a lot of you haven't seen the other videos. And it also just gives me an excuse to talk more about Elden Ring as a whole, because I absolutely love that. Anyways, I hope you do all enjoy the video. Anyways, enough of my nonsensical ramblings. I'll talk to you in a second. When I was trying to think of the secrets I should put in this video, one stuck out to me as the secret that really started it all. This secret has to do with Marika and Radagon. Now you might be thinking, we've heard this 1,000 times, Gecko. We know that Marika is Radagon, but there's something even more to this. Back in 2019, at E3, when Elden Ring was first announced, we were blessed with a teaser trailer. And within this blessing of a teaser trailer, we got to know someone. Someone with a male voice, with braids, smashing what we'd later know as the Elden Ring. But this is just Radagon, right? Well, no. Actually, it is Marika and Radagon in this trailer. I noticed this when I went through a bit of a phase where I was like, Elden Ring's so fucking cool, I'm just going to watch the trailer over and over again. So I got to a point where I'd watched it so many times that I started to notice, shit, at around near the beginning when he's talking about the sky, it switches completely different hairstyles as they slam the Elden Ring, and it changes into a more feminine figure where you can see accentuated curves, the sort of trademarks of a female body and then the trademarks of a male body. Both of these things you could see switching between each other, and I was like, hold on a minute, that's meant to be Radagon, but Marika, as I already know, is also Radagon. So then I put it together and I started doing frame by frames, and they completely switch. It's 2 different people in this trailer. I know it got briefly talked about at launch, but this was one of the most interesting discoveries I first made, and it really sparked a love for Elden Ring's lore. This is where it all started, and it was such a cool detail, and it really shows that From Software genuinely had this moment 3 years in the making. It was expertly crafted, and it still blows my mind when I think about it to this day. Number 6. The Claymen and the Oracles, which are located all around the map, may actually be from the very same dynasty. We know from many item descriptions that they are both of an ancient dynasty that are on their own separate mission. The Claymen are on a mission that we do not know, a purpose that is a mystery to us completely. The Oracles are said to hold the horns and see the future behind their veiled faces. If you go closely to them, you can hear the screams of their torment. The Oracle's purpose is to herald in a new god or a new age. They arrive wherever a new god is going to arise. We see them in Miquella's Haligtree, and we also see them inside of the Golden Capital. My theory is that they're in the Golden Capital because they know that we are going to beat Marika and Radagon and the Elden Beast, and we are going to ascend to the throne. But Miquella, this is where I have a little bit of a tinty theory. What if they're waiting for something to happen at the Haligtree? Because if they know that we are going to ascend to the throne, they must also know, in their oracle foresight, that Melania was going to quote-unquote die, and Miquella was going to quote-unquote die. But Miquella isn't dead, and the DLC is theoried to be about Miquella. So if it is about Miquella, maybe, just maybe, there's some kind of ending at the Halig Tree for us, or maybe in the DLC, Miquella himself will ascend to his own throne, and we'll have to fight through the battle to, if Miquella is evil, to conquer him, like we have done every adversary before us. I'm making this video a day in advance because I will be in London on Friday, when you'll be seeing this. But the Game Awards is tonight, on Thursday, when I'm recording this now. So there's a high chance that when you're watching this, the Elden Ring DLC trailer might be out. I'm crossing my fingers and praying, you know, I'm praying. I'm praying real hard that there's going to be some kind of news. Anything, come on please, From Software. The Alabaster Lords also hold a lot of similarities to the Claymen, and if the Claymen and the Alabaster Lords are connected, then so are the Oracles as well. We know the Alabaster Lords were formed and created when a meteor hit the lands between. If so, whatever meteor and whatever civilization sprung up after said meteor, they are probably all part of the same one, or at very least part of maybe the same alliance, considering both the Claymen and the Oracles share the exact same sorcery and miracle, only one is blue with the Claymen and one is gold with the Oracles. Number 5. The Windmill Village and its hysteria. In my eyes, I noticed this quite a few months ago now. The Windmill Village, which is located in the Atlas Plateau, seems to have a lot of similarities to mass hysteria, and a good example of mass hysteria being the Salem witch trials. Added in with the mass hysteria was a drug that was left in their food called ergot. Ergot is a hallucinogenic which made them hallucinate and imagine what we know as the witches of Salem, which led to them being burned at the stake. The people of the Windmill Village have been driven mad. Their eyes are unfocused and they all dance like a hive mind, all in synchronization. Now you might think it has something to do with the Godskin Noble that is located at the top of this hill, and that's perfectly reasonable. It could be that, but I feel like there's so much more to this place than just simply the Godskin Noble going, "Oh, I'm in control of you now," with some like hypnosis necklaces or something. There's so much more to it than just that. And I have a feeling it's something to do with ergot. Now, if you don't know what ergot is, yes, I know I've told you it's hallucinogenic, but it's something that occurred when the rats ran into the mills where the flour and all the stuff to create their food was, and the ergot was from the rats and they contaminated the food supplies, all that kind of stuff, and then they ate the bread. There's some study done that half of Salem back then, I think they did some like dug up the bodies and bones and they tested them, and half of the population had ergot in their system. It's that kind of thing, and the kind of thing that mills would have been used is in the kind of civilizations and little towns and villages that the Windmill Village actually is. Number 4. Corpse wax gargoyles. I made this video over a year ago, but the corpse wax gargoyles are the gargoyles that you see. Oh, bloody plane, man. I swear, every single time I record, a plane decides, you know what, I'm going to be a big bugger and fly across your house. But anyway, the gargoyles, as you've probably seen, you never really get a close-up because they're all jumping all over the place unless you go up to them and don't aggro them and just use one of the microscopes. You know, but we find out so much about them through their limited item descriptions. Gargoyles are actually made of corpse wax, which is a lot darker than it originally sounds. Basically what they do is they gather up these dead champions, they melt their corpses into wax, and they stuff these bodies, these gargoyles, with the corpse wax from fallen heroes and champions. That's why certain gargoyles have different skills. There's ones with strength, ones with dexterity. It's a whole little operation that the Golden Order have been doing. We even have the Blackblade Kindred ones which have been imbued with death. It's a really interesting concept that does not get talked about hardly as much as it should be, because The corpse wax gargoyles are one of my favourite enemies, just from the fact that they are so interesting. They seem like such a little part, but there's so much to them. Like, is it a shared consciousness? Is it a consciousness that's been born from all of the consciences, like some kind of Frankenstein monster? What is it? We don't know, and that adds so much to the mystique. For number 3, we go on to the giant corpses that are littered around Elden Ring's map. Now, most people will make the assumption that these are giants, and I 1000% agree with you. But I don't think they're the giants that we know. You see, over time, species evolve and adapt to their circumstances. Some even just completely die out. I believe that the fire giants are a sub-branch of these dead corpses. Perhaps even the fire giants are descendants from these said giants. The same we also know is of the trolls. We do know that they are descendants of the fire giants who rebelled against their ancestors and fought for the Golden Order. What makes this really interesting is how big they are. They are completely foreign to this world. They're almost like this world's dinosaurs. It also kind of reminds me how the Roman Empire looked upon the Great Pyramids and looked at them the same way we look at the Romans. That is how it reminds me. We look at Marika like they're some kind of ancient thing that is so old. But Marika possibly looked at these giants and thought, Jesus Christ, they are old, just like we do about her. It's a really interesting dynamic, and it's so interesting. You could also make the assumption they're like dinosaurs. Not in the sense that they are fossilised or anything, but the fact that they are very foreign. Maybe the world adapted. Oxygen became less, if we're going off that oxygen is a big part of the lands between, and they shrunk into the fire giants. The reason I don't believe that the fire giants and these giants coexisted is the fact that we know that the Golden Order wiped out the fire giants. These giants that we see along the map, they are a lot older, as we would have had some kind of mention of them in the Great War that existed on top of the mountaintop of the giants. For number 2, we have Mohg's invasion of the Atlas Plateau. This is a very unknown one, but there is a lot of evidence that Mohg did at some point try to invade the Atlas Plateau. It's common knowledge that Mohg asked his subordinates, commanded his subordinates to go and spread the word of his gospel. We know that there is also a lot of Mohg's subordinates in the Atlas Plateau. Legions of them. Well, at least broken legions. We know that Morgott, when he went under the name of Margit, went and fought a lot of the enemies on the outskirts of the Atlas Plateau, though they never say who these adversaries ever were, when it makes sense for the Fell Omen to go meet his Fell Omen brother's very own subordinates. We know that there are a lot of them, though most of them have been destroyed. All of the places that hold these legions are all broken, their structures crumbling like they've been battered with arrows, and a war has been fought here. But we never hear anything of this war. We can only imply, and that is From Software's visual storytelling at its finest, because we see something that is never even told to us. Just before we get on to the last one, if you are enjoying this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel. We're trying to hit 3,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you want to help us make that happen, consider leaving a like and subscribe. Of course, you don't have to, only if you actually enjoyed the video. If you like this style of content, then please feel free to let me know, as I love hearing from you all, as it lets me know whether you're enjoying this style of content or if you want me to spice it up and do something different. For number 1, we have the secrets behind the map obelisks. This is a secret that I discovered myself, made a video on it a few months ago, and it is honestly my biggest secret that I've discovered. I discovered that on the map obelisks, it is actually Futhark, which stands for the runic alphabet. There's about a dozen different Futhark languages, and this whole block of text, which I rounded up to about 70 lines, each character, which was hard to decipher. It took me about 2 weeks, but I did decipher it. I will link the video to this in the description because it generally took me about 15-16 minutes to just describe it then, and I don't want to hold you all explaining it again. But basically, sometimes Futhark has also obviously the letters, but they also have meanings, and From Software use this so cleverly. They use the different meanings of words, and then they made sentences based off the meanings. Like one of them was about soul, the sun, the ice giants, all this kind of stuff is really intricately linked with the map obelisks. It's like a prophecy of sorts, I believe, and there's so much hidden in it. I did, in that video as well, leave a link to a document that has it all documented, all the translations, everything. So if you want to go have a deeper look at it, go and check it out. There's 3 panels on the map obelisks, and there is so much to them. There's a chance that I have, say, misinterpreted one here or there because it is so old. From Software have done a really good job of sort of letting it erode. It's like some bits you cannot make out genuinely because they've eroded away. And I think that it's a really, really interesting thing for them to do. The downside of this is a lot of different Futhark languages have sort of similar characters. They have the defining features, but sometimes the defining features have been eroded away, so it's really hard to tell. But for most of them, you can tell. But for some of them, as I do mention in the video, are a bit hard to actually figure out their meaning. But I think this has something to do with the DLC. It's like Elden Ring's own little teaser trailer. It talks about the Ice Sun, and the Ice Sun we know is linked to Miquella, which is theorized to be the person who's going to be the main character inside the DLC. It tells us so much, and I was so happy when I realised, because I actually reached out to the Tarnished archaeologist and I asked him, you know, where do you think would be a good spot? Because I love Futhark, it's a personal passion of mine. I asked him, where do you think would be the best place to start? And he listed off a few places, and he said about the mountaintop of the giants. He didn't actually say the map obelisk, but then I was like, oh wait a second, there's tons of writing in the map obelisks, and that discovery was made. Another reason I kind of wanted to talk about it was that video kind of flopped, and I think it was a really important discovery that I don't feel enough people actually saw because, well, I'm a small channel, so I also wanted to mention that here. And that concludes today's video. I hope you really did enjoy it. As I said just a few minutes ago, if you do enjoy the video and did enjoy the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe. This was a bit of a long one, coming in at just under 19 minutes, but I genuinely really enjoyed talking about this. Elden Ring is one of my biggest passions, and so is making videos for you all. I hope you all do have a great rest of your day, your night, your evening, your morning, the great rest of your week. I hope you have a great, great day, and I hope to see you in the next one. May you find your worth in the waking world. Goodbye, everyone.